this is witnessing information that you'll want to revisit over and over and over again. So owning it is something that allows you to do that. I really want you to enjoy the rest of this episode.
So tell me about this room.
Well, everybody looks at the picture.
Yes.
And they're drawn by it and they miss the floor. So Pat, we're standing on the first century floor where Jesus would have walked. Mm-hmm. And we needed a spot to put a chapel where all of the Christians could pray. And this would be, in principle, an ecumenical chapel. Mm-hmm. We call it the Encounter Chapel because the evangelicals have a problem with the word ecumenical, which the main churches do not have.
Right.
And if you look at this, it's an unusual chapel. Have you ever seen a chapel designed like this?
No. So what
but if you're a Jewish person and you come in here on Shabbat, and we have many secular Jews coming in here, they look at this and they say, why did you Christians, build a chapel like a synagogue? Huh. You know, we just came from the synagogue, so it's just like what we just saw.
Right.
With the 2 rows of seating, a stone, the pillars,
yes,
and the colors. And we have redone the colors, tested them in a lab, analyzed them, and reproduced them. So with this construct, with this architecture, we are back in the first century.
Wow.
We're actually standing on real first century, but we have the environment of the first century synagogue. And we have to now ask, well, why do we do that? Mm-hmm. Well, our synagogue, imagine a priest saying our synagogue, mm-hmm, has 2 generations, so more or less 0 to 30.
Yeah.
And then from Pentecost until just prior to temple destruction. Mm-hmm. So let's focus, well, the first generation Jesus would have walked there, would have been in the synagogue.
Right.
I say he would have been here more often because he was with the people where they were working.
Right.
But in the second generation after Pentecost, who's using the synagogue? Jewish people.
Yes.
But among them, like you have Peter and John are going to the temple, mm-hmm, for afternoon prayer in the Acts of the Apostles. They were Jewish people. They didn't stop going to the synagogue on Shabbat.
Right.
So in this synagogue, we would have a Jewish community, and among them a number of Jesus' disciples. Mm-hmm. A small number, a large number, we don't know how many. And they would be in the synagogue with the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. And at that time, Jesus' disciples were not divided into Presbyterian, Methodist, Evangelical, right, Anglican, Episcopalian, Seventh-day Adventist, the whole 9 yards, nor were we alienated from the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. So our synagogue actually is like an icon of our commonality,
yeah,
what we share together. So we have a first century archaeology of commonality. And here we have a 21st century architecture of communion with each other, yes, walking together, encountering each other, meeting each other, recognizing each other.
And isn't that unique in the world? I mean, I've never seen this in any other part of the world.
It's beautiful to be at an original biblical site.
Yes.
Where we captured that first century moment, mm-hmm, and it's also translated into the 21st century when we so need today, yeah, to meet each other again and learn about each other.
Well, the common roots and common heritage seems to be something you want to promote and exhibit as compared to try to hide and show your distinctions.
Yes, I think even just think of your own children. Mm-hmm. Each one of them will want to present their individuality. Sure. And it's very important for, yeah, the young person to discover this. But your family would never work if you and Laurie don't bring out the fact that you're a family.
Yeah.
That even if these 3 kids can be at loggerheads on occasion, that we're one family.
Yeah.
And we're going on a vacation or we're doing something together, we're a family. And we need this in humanity today. Yeah. We don't need to suppress the individuality or the particular of each community, but we also need to recognize how much we share in common.
Yeah.
This picture is fascinating from an awful lot of aspects. I always ask people, how big is Jesus' big toe? It's huge. And you didn't notice this when you came in, Pat.
No.
And look at the toenails broken, the dirt under the toenails,
yes,
the realism, the depth. And this lady is an elderly lady from Chile, and she's very ill. Uh-huh. And the story of that woman who was bleeding for 12 years and, yes, touches the wings of Jesus' garment. And here Jesus presented with the prayer shawl of the Jewish people, right, in this image. Now, an interesting trivia, if you will, which is really not a trivia, about this, all of the art in Duc and Altum, is that this was done by a Chilean who was Protestant.
Right.
And upstairs, the icons were done by a Chilean who is Orthodox of Greek and Russian backgrounds. Uh-huh. And the main decoration was done by Maria Jesus Fernandez, a Catholic. And so without us intending this or looking for this, Providence brought the great streams of Christianity together to decorate Ducan Altum, at the same time confirming what we're discovering in the very stones of Magdala, that we belong together, that here we were following Jesus together, and we discovered this also within our Jewish roots.
Wow.
Part of the infrastructure of the first century port. You can see all the port that extends here behind this wall that we built.
Wow.
Exact same pavement. And if we think, with whom did Jesus work?
Right.
Were they electricians or truck drivers? What type of profession were they?
Right.
They were fishermen.
Yes.
So where do you meet fishermen?
At the port.
You don't swim out to see them in the boat, right? You
right.
wait and you drink a wine or a glass of beer, and then they're in at the port, right?
Right.
So Jesus, after walking 2 days from Nazareth, and he's going to go on to Capernaum and Bethsaida on the north of the lake. We're here at the widest point of the west of the lake. And he meets a port, a town, a fish processing town. Migdal Nun in Hebrew means fish tower.
Right.
And the Greek name Tarichea means tossing, like tossing salad, tossing flour, tossing hay in the farm. And so they were tossing the fish. And Strabo, the Greek historian, would have used the word tarichea, the Greek word for the tossing, when he tells us that fish from Magdala was sold in Rome. So they were exporting fish. That means that, Patrick, if you were in Los Angeles and you had the extreme privilege of eating fresh Irish salmon.
Right.
Not the Alaska stuff.
Right.
So can you imagine fish from Magdala 2,000 years ago being shipped from here to Caesarea Maritima and on to Rome?
Wow.
Now think of all the fishermen on the lake. They're going to be focused on the export trade. When we sold lambs and cattle at home on the farm in Ireland, we were very happy. My dad was happy when he got an extra penny in the pound if it was going to England or export to Europe, and rather than the home market. So these fishermen, I'm sure, were focused on Magdala. And we have a lot of infrastructure here probably related to the fishing industry, fish processing industry. So Jesus was with the fishermen. This was the town that he met.
Wow.
So we have a very unique find here as another part of this first century town. You know, Magdala is the only complete first century town discovered in Israel, excavated in the Holy Land.
And we're quite a ways from the synagogue that was unearthed, so it flows all the way down to here, what's been excavated.
Yes.
So this is like a whole town
Exactly.
that existed here.
Right. It's a big town. Flavius Josephus spoke to about 40,000 people. Critics say that he exaggerated. Modern archaeological estimates say Magdala had 3,000 to 4,000 people, which would still make it a nice little town at that time. And it was obviously significant that it merited to be the scene of a battle with the Romans. And so there's actually Jewish blood probably spilt on this floor also, on this pavement 2,000 years ago in September 67 when the Romans crushed the Jewish uprising here. So then Jesus gets here in 2 days walking, and he has another day left to walk, so why not get in a boat?
Right.
The fishermen say, you're a nice guy, we like the way you talk, I'd like to show you my family, come on the boat with us. And we have so many boat stories crossing to the other side in the gospel.
Yes.
So it's not difficult for us to imagine how these encounters could have happened here.
Yeah.
That's it for this particular interview. Thanks for joining me. Really excited to take this ongoing journey with you as we keep bringing more content. If you haven't already, you really should subscribe to this channel. There's a lot of phenomenal content coming down the road into the future that you'll want to know about. Leave a comment down here. I think people would love to hear from you, and then you can hear from them too. If you liked it, go ahead and give a like. It only takes half a second, and share this with people that you care about. The world needs more light in it right now. So thanks for being with me. Hope to connect with you again soon.